All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us this morning for our Strategic Alliance Partner CEO Coaching in our 49th installment of our EO Exchange Series AI Roadmap. So let me tell you more about our two presenters. Kurt Gooden serves as the Chief AI Officer at CEO Coaching International. With more than 25 years in IT, his strategic initiatives are deeply rooted in integrating new technologies to drive business innovation. Kurt's contributions as a Chief Information Officer for TaskUs and Everise redefined BPO operations and international business outsourcing strategy. Kurt lends his expertise to the VG AI Institute of Artificial Intelligence as a faculty member, shaping the next generation of innovators with a focus on AI's transformative potential. Outside his professional endeavors, Kurt enjoys skiing, golf, travel, and quality time with family. Randy Koch, pulling from 11 years of AI and dating experience, he built CEO Coaching International's AI Roadmap product and leads the deployment of these AI strategy workshops with clients and coaches. He has over a decade of experience coaching CEOs and helping them find clarity about what they want and how to get there. Randy Koch has successfully led and advised multiple companies ranging from large global corporations to entrepreneurial startups. Randy is widely considered a thought leader in the data and analytics world, having published multiple data articles and appearing on NASDAQ's Trade Talks broadcasts. Randy is from Miami, has lived in Latin America and Europe for many years, and currently resides, as he just mentioned, in Portland, Oregon. He received a BS in Industrial Engineering from Cornell University, named to the Quill and Dagger Honor Society, and captain of the baseball team. He's been an active member of YPO since 2007. Randy and his wife, Heather, have a teenage son, Will. He enjoys being active specifically in golf, paddleboarding, and fishing. Thank you guys both for joining us today, and we will have time for questions after Randy and Kurt present, so please put your questions in the chat. And Randy has suggested that if you have a pressing question, he does not mind if you go ahead and ask it in that moment. So Randy and Kurt, please take it away.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Hey, before we get started, fun fact. I want you guys to guess for Cornell baseball what record I set. Anyone, just yell it out. What record of Cornell baseball, 100 years of history, did I set? Anybody?
RBIs.
Strikeouts.
Close?
Hit by pitch.
Hit by pitch. Colin, you win. Yeah, that's the fun fact. And that's not the one I want to brag about, but I guess it's better than nothing. So anyways, one way to maybe remember me, and I still got a bum left shoulder from all the ones I took there. Anyway, listen, thanks everyone for joining. We're definitely going to have a fun time talking about AI, big topic. And before I jump into it, I just want to reconfirm timing with Marla and David. My understanding was about, well, can you guys give the timing of just the presentation plus the question, just so I know what rate we're going at here?
30, 35 minutes.
Sorry?
30, 35 minutes. And if the questions start firing, we can go longer. We're somewhat flexible.
Good. Kurt and I are really concise. So hey, let's jump into it. One more thing about my background. So I've been a coach now for 10 years with CEO Coaching for 3 years. And what really set me off on AI was I ran a data and analytics company about, it was 10 up until 3 years ago. And we did data analytics for 6,000 banks. So I think 20 million transactions per day came over to us. And we ran a lot of AI. At the time, it was machine learning. And I will tell you this, at the time, it was a beast. I made a lot of mistakes, had some successes. But the thing I want you guys to all take away is the single most important thing I hope you take from this is when you're a CEO, i.e. in your role and in my former role, the single most important thing we have to do is get clarity on what's our strategy for AI, because there's a lot of noise, and then linking that to our business strategy. So if nothing else, we're going to show you how to get clarity on that strategy and emphasize that that is your main role. I'm going to jump in here and share my screen. Can I please get some thumbs up if you can see my screen? Okay, very good. Look, so here's the agenda today. We got about 15 slides. I'm going to go, what's the bottom line about AI and the CEO's role in AI? Brief background of AI. We're going to introduce the CEO AI roadmap, which is the premier AI strategy on being concise and clarity for CEOs. We're going to talk about options that you have in front of you and any Q&A. As was mentioned at the very beginning, if you have a pressing question or lack of clarity as we go through this, feel free to answer it. But then Kurt and I will obviously be happy to jump on any questions you have. One other thing about Kurt I want to announce, just so you know our roles. My role is a former CEO that knows AI well, and so I'm responsible for this product and getting it to the clients. Kurt is an AI ninja on the technology, so he has all the answers, how we roll it out to the clients, what do all the AI categories mean, et cetera. So we're sort of the 1-2 punch that rolls this out for CEO coaching. Okay, so bottom line up front, 3 things I really want you to take away here is 98%, look at this stat, 98% of CEOs do not have a clear AI strategy. And it's a simple message. If you don't know where you're going, the rest of this whole AI conversation is a waste of money and a waste of time. We have a lot of experience in working with CEOs, and literally 98% don't have a clear strategy that they can tell me or tell you and articulate. And that's the signature problem here with AI. Next point, what's your job? There's a lot of AI noise out there. Your job is simple. Your job is to take this AI noise here, that's all around you, it's all around your organization, and map out a clear strategy. Hey, someone's got some background noise, so if everyone can go on mute, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. And lastly, we're going to actually show you the format. We're going to show you some examples of some clients. But at the end of the day, what we've noticed, Kurt and I have done a lot of these roadmaps. There's 3 steps to start right now, right? We're to show you the basic 3 steps, and 2, you should start right now. The other one will likely come later, but we'll show you that in a very clear and concise way. So that's the bottom line. Your job is to set the AI strategy. Okay, so I want to do a little exercise with all of you. I'd like each of you, normally we do this with our exec team. So normally when we do this AI strategy, it's the CEO and the C-suite. We do it for about 4 hours with the team. But regardless, and we get very interactive, because there's too many people on this call, here's the exercise I'd like you to do. For each of these questions, I'd like you to either write down or put on your computer your answer to each of these. So the first one is 1 to 10, how much impact will AI have on business in general? Not your business, just the business sector. 1 to 10, 10 being huge impact, 1 being minimal. Go ahead and write it down, 1 to 10. Next question, 1 to 10, how much impact will AI have on your industry? So if you're in the financial sector, or you're in general contracting, or your legal services, or your consulting, or your supply chain, how much impact will AI have on your industry in the next 10 years, 1 to 10? Next question. How much will AI impact your business specifically? Specific to the business you run, 1 to 10. And lastly, as it stands now, 1 to 10, how good is your current strategy? 1 to 10, how good is your current strategy? Could you explain it to me in 30 seconds? Could you show it to me on 1 slide? How clear and concise is your current AI strategy? Okay. Let me show you the results here from 60 clients that we've done. This is the average. And my guess is if we actually did a poll with you guys, it comes somewhere in these categories. So, and this is the part I want to open this up for, say, 3 to 5 minutes. So here's the $1 million question I'd like to just get some quick feedback on. If the difference between this question, how much will AI impact your business, and how good is your current strategy, what does that tell you? Anyone, if we got a gap bigger than 2, whether it's your business or the rest of the people here on the call, what does it tell you if the difference between those 2 is greater than 2? Anybody? I'm looking for interaction here.
Bad news bears.
Good. I love baseball. And why is it bad?
Good gravy. That's a whole lot of impact and shit for planning.
Yes. Someone else, anybody?
Let's ask it. Did anybody else have differing numbers on that? Or did you all have very similar numbers? Or do you agree with the averages that we've seen?
I
Agree.
bet we could get left behind in our industry and our specific business.
That's right. And look, at the end of the day, as Colton said, we can't have this big of a gap, right? That is one of the 5 jobs of a CEO, is to have a clear vision, right? Okay, so I think we get the point here. So that is what led us back in the fall of this year to create a great framework. And I'm going to show you how to get there and what it looks like here. But the signature issue is you're not doing your job if this gap is bigger than a 2. Okay, so let's keep going. We're to give you the tools on how to think about this. I think we've already gone over this verbally, so I'm going to keep moving on. Well, let me just explain this. If you don't know CEO coaching, we coach 500 CEOs ranging from 1 million to 3 billion in revenue. The vast majority are under 20 million, and we're focused on increasing revenue and EBITDA. Part of the AI solution I'll go over here is, 1, we create the clear and concise strategy with our CEOs. And then secondly, most of them start with steps 1 and 2 almost immediately, and we'll show you what those steps are. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Here's the CEO AI roadmap. At the end of the day, all 500 of our CEOs are going to end up with a roadmap that looks just like this. Now, the initiatives are going to change, but the format we want you guys to understand is that you should have an AI strategy that is this simple. You can articulate in 3 minutes, and you're going to choose a couple initiatives that you're likely going to execute in 2024 and 2025. I'll go over how to construct it, but this is the roadmap. This is what a clear strategy looks like, and we'll go over in the next 20 minutes on how we build that. Before we do that, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt. And this is a tough part of this conversation, and Kurt doesn't like it when we do this. He always wants more time. But most people, AI is such a hot topic right now that most people just don't even know how to understand it or really understand the components of it. So Kurt's going to give what I'll say, consider a quick 5-minute overview of AI before we jump back into how to build a roadmap. Kurt, please take it away.
All right, 5 minutes and everybody is going to be an AI expert after that. So no pressure, but obviously not. And the first thing I want to start with is AI is such an overhyped term right now. Everybody sees it all over the place. So just want to give a little bit of context to what that means. And I'm going to start by saying there is no magic silver bullet in any of this. So all the software vendors that are coming to you guys, everything you see in the advertisements, anybody who says we've got AI, we use AI, and it's going to fix all your problems, that is not the case. However, it does present an amazing leap in technology, and so there's tons of applicability for it. So just to give a quick overview, AI is a very generic term. AI is been around since computers have been around. And essentially all that means is get computers to act like humans. That's it. I mean, that was really the goal. So as we've matured in AI and in technology, there have been different subsets. So machine learning came out in around the 80s. And machine learning is a subset of AI. And what that means is it's essentially taking lots and lots of data and crunching that data and finding patterns in that data and making predictions off that data. So machine learning, you can think about as just crunching lots and lots of data and then finding those similarities, finding those patterns, doing things just specifically around that data. We then moved into this new era called deep learning. And again, that's a specialized subset of machine learning. But the biggest difference in deep learning is there's been advancements in technologies and capabilities, and it's run through what's called neural networks. As opposed to just the traditional computer systems, neural networks are designed similar to a human brain. And so what neural networks allowed us to be able to do is do a lot better processing, a lot quicker processing, a lot more efficient processing. So we're in the deep learning phase right now. And then if you start looking at what these new technologies are, there's one big pivotal new technology that has really kind of started this whole buzzword as of about 2 years ago. And it's the creation, the term is generative AI. And what that means is instead of just finding patterns and taking data and crunching data and making predictions, generative AI is now using that deep learning, large language models, natural language processing, all these special buzzwords, but it's creating things new. So it has the ability to now create new writing, new text, new images, new videos, and that's all the stuff that you see right now. Give you a couple of quick examples as to put this in perspective. The machine learning one, a great example I like to throw out there is Netflix. Everybody has probably been on Netflix and everybody sees the recommendations, what to watch next. Behind the scenes, it's called the recommendation engine, and it's just a very complicated machine learning algorithm that's taking all that information about what you watch and predicting what you want to watch next. Netflix reported last year that they saved $1 billion in regards to customer churn just based off their recommendation engine. You move into deep learning. A great example that most people can point to is computer vision, like autopilot on a Tesla or any self-driving car. With the old technology, we couldn't do those things quick enough. Now, deep learning has enabled self-driving cars to make so many calculations, make those predictions, and actually take control of the car. And then obviously everybody hears about ChatGPT, and I'm hoping everybody is using it and playing around with it. And that is what is taking all this information and starting being able to have these natural language conversations, and as well as create new text and create new things. So that's just my real quick high-level snapshot of AI, but it means a lot of different things, a lot of different technologies. And my one suggestion is you always have to look at what is the business problem you're trying to solve, what is your business goal, and then you're always going to try to find the technology that's going to help enable that, and then the technology or the type of technology that's going to be best suited for your organization. And then this is a great slide because it really shows what has happened over this time period with these new systems. So these are the facts of systems that it took, how long they took to get up to 100 million users. I mean, Netflix took 10 years before it had 100 million users. Twitter took 6 years. You go down this list, Instagram did it in 2.5 years. ChatGPT, from the day it was released, it took 2 months to have 100 million users. And that's the speed of what these new AI and these new generative tools are really doing in the market right now. They are moving so quickly and the advancements are happening so fast. My other advice to organizations is you don't try to pick the right tool right now and try to fit it into your organization. You have to pay attention as to what those goals are, what those technology trends are, and you're trying to kind of match it where it's going to go. Don't go try to figure out how to back into some technology because the technology is advancing so quickly. You want to get that plan, that strategy, and that roadmap to how to actually intersect them to make the most use out of technology.
And team, thanks, Kurt. Before I get us back into the roadmap and how to actually build your AI strategy, are there any burning questions for Kurt right now on the technology side that he just went over that you think the group would benefit from? Any questions?
I love questions.
Okay. If there's none, I'm sure there'll be more after we build the roadmap here.
And just
Okay.
as we're going along, if you want to throw them in the chat, I'll be watching that as well. So
Thanks, Kurt. Tough job explaining in 5 minutes, but thank you very much. All right. So team, we're now going back to, okay, we know the structure for the roadmap. How do we build it in a pragmatic, great way? So I'm going to show you the steps on how to build this. And yes, I'm happy to give Marla the deck here so you guys can see it later, so you don't have to do any screen prints and just follow it. So there's 4 steps on building an AI roadmap strategy, okay? The first is, step 1 is we're gonna get each, so I'm assuming each of you has a management team of somewhere from 3 to 8 people, CFO, COO, whatever it is. I don't care if it's 2, I don't care if it's 8. What we want to do before we do the build of the workshop, each executive will identify 3 potential AI initiatives that bring value to the company. So we're going to come into the company, and it could be things like do ChatGPT for HR. It could be do some sort of automation for the manufacturing. Whatever that is, people bring in ideas, and we're not that concerned if they're above average, good, or great. We're going to plot them later together. We just want to generate ideas. The second part, and this is the part that most people miss, is we want to truly understand the business lens of what we're trying to achieve. So for all of our companies, for example, we have a clear 2024 plan at the beginning of every January. And at the end of the day, those plans come down to, do I want to increase revenue? Do I want to decrease costs or increase margin? Do I want to roll out a new product or service? That is our North Star for the business. Any AI initiative has got to be pointing to one of our top 2. Otherwise, it won't make our list. But we got to make sure we're crystal clear on our business drivers. And I'll show you later how that fits into the roadmap. Majority of the time is we're actually plotting the initiatives, right? And that's where we take all these initiatives, we plot them on that 2x2 grid. And then lastly, once we have the initiatives, and we'll go through this briefly here, we're going to make sure we're choosing the ones with the highest return. We're going to talk about, do we buy or build? And then data readiness is just a huge topic that we have to make sure we start our AI journey with. And hey, let me tell you a quick story on data readiness. Going back to my company I used to run. So imagine 20 million transactions a day, a lot of data coming from banks. You would expect it to be super clean data, right? Once COVID hits, Wall Street wants to know, how are the fast food, this use case was, how are the fast food companies doing with drive-through at breakfast? That's what they want to know. Well, we got all the data. I know the timestamp. I know McDonald's. I know the transaction value. I can compare them. We gave it to them. Disaster. And the reason it was a disaster, and the data was actually good, the reason it was a disaster is we had the wrong time zones coming from the banks. And specifically, we had Eastern fine, we had Central fine, we had Pacific time. We actually got a whole bunch of data we didn't realize was coming from Europe because the headquarters of the processor was in Europe. So great example of how if the data is not there, you have to be really careful about how clean it is. It was a huge surprise to us because you would expect bank data to be clean. Anyways, we'll go through those 4 steps as we build this, okay? So step 1, we already talked about, which is the team comes in with 3 initiatives per person. Step 2, we also talked about, which is understanding our business lens. So I would expect each of you to have a clear 2024 strategy. Step 3 then is we actually build and plot each of these initiatives. So if it's in person, it looks like this. Everyone's bringing up their sticky, they're plotting their initiative, they're explaining how valuable it is, et cetera, et cetera. If it's via Zoom, because I know some of you do this via Zoom, you can just do it digitally. And what we're plotting here, and this is where we're going to spend the next 5 to 8 minutes or so, all we're doing is we're plotting these initiatives, value versus time. Again, value versus time. Okay? And what you end up with is a pretty simple grid, and this is a very common sense theme here. If it's fast and high value, it goes in the do it now quadrant, right? If it's long time and low value, we're going to ignore that thing. That thing's never going to make our list. And where we do have a lot of projects are up here in the high value, but it's do it later for a lot of reasons. Either we don't have the data, or it's not, or right now we are just chocked full for the next, 3 quarters. But nevertheless, we want to know where we're going. And then down here are typically some other quick wins along the way. The other thing I want to point out is this legend over here is your business legend. So remember how in step 2, we said, I want to know what your 2024 plan is? These keys here, if you say revenue is top here, you better have at least one revenue project way high up there, right? The flip side is if product is your 4th most important thing, you don't want a whole bunch of things that are product because they weren't part of your goals, even though they might be easy to do on AI. So this is how we integrate AI with your actual business priorities. And what we end up with, team, is this. Well, first of all, let's all acknowledge there's no way in hell we're going to do 12 different projects of AI in 2024, right? So this is where CEOs come in and prioritize. So what we see is you're likely going to pick 1 or 2 of these projects, and you should robustly debate which ones and incorporate whichever 2 you choose into your 2024 plan. Kurt and I have done a number of these. If you're choosing more than 2 or 3, that's way too many. You're not focused, and I doubt you have the resources or investment to pull those off in 2024. But nevertheless, just the fact that your team went through this process and you ran an intentional process to choose which ones are the most important, that's what our job is. 2 other things I really want to point out here, everyone, is this last step. Remember, we're in step 4 here now. We've built the roadmap. Now we're being very intentional about choosing what we're putting in our plan. What we're doing now is we go through a pretty simple exercise. Can we buy or build the initiative, right? So there's a lot of vendors out there, right? And some things you don't need your own data for. And so you can actually buy some pretty good tools out there. But some you might want to build, in which case, and Kurt and I'll give some examples of these, you're going to need to build, make sure your data is clean. It's probably going to be, who knows, a 12 to 24 month endeavor with your tech team. But that also tells you how far out it goes. And the second part we do is if you're going to build it, we're going to do a quick assessment of how ready is your data. So if your data is ready and ready to go, it gets green. And if not, it's going to be longer out. I'm sorry, did I hear a question there from someone? Okay, and team, we're going to open up for questions here shortly. So at the end of the day then, what we end up with is a clear and concise strategy mapped to your business. And then the question after Kurt and I did about, well, a number of these was, hey guys, damn it, just tell me what to do, right? Tell me what most people are doing, right? Okay, so here's what most people are doing, right? So what we find out across our companies, right? And this is where it gets down to, I said, you're going to walk away with 3 things and 2 you should start now. So what most of our companies do, we can find a quick win, right? That doesn't take a long time, that gets us started with AI. right? So we want to identify one quick win, and it's usually in the productivity gains world. And by the way, hey, let me give you a quick example. For CEO Coaching International, I'll give you a quick win, right? Because we did this. I have 12 clients. I don't want any more clients. Don't have enough time. But it takes me about 15% of my time to write notes, right? I'm an industrial engineer. I got to process everything. Kurt's way smarter than I am. So it literally takes me an hour a day to do my notes and prepare for the next meeting. Well, guess what? You guys probably know the answer. We get AI note taker. That automatically takes my 1 hour down to about 15 minutes. I can take on another customer. That's 10% revenue kick to my company just from having a simple AI tool. So that's a good example of a quick win, right? And Kirk and I can tell you more about that. So
real quick, it's a great example of a buy because there's tons of them out there. Nobody's going to go build your own. You just go buy a great one and use it and instant productivity.
Yep. But the other thing, remember I said there's 3 things we want you to do with this. We want you to get a quick win. The second part that you got to start relatively soon is you have to start the data journey. And look, almost no one's data is good. I ran a data company and I thought our data was good and it wasn't. So start the journey. You're not gonna invest millions on day one, but you have to start the journey because it leads to the most important piece, which is if you choose that you have a game-changing AI initiative out in the future, you're going to need to start building that data foundation now. The most frustrating thing in the world is you're going to be ready to do this from an AI standpoint, but your data is not ready and it's going to move you out to 3 or 4 years. The last thing I want to say on the quick win, this arrow is dashed because you don't necessarily need data to get your quick win. You may or you may not, but there's a lot of quick wins that don't depend on data. That goes on a case-by-case basis, okay? The last thing I want to say is this, and then we'll open it up to questions, everyone. Look, here's the call to action for you guys. At the end of the day, if you answered more than a 2 gap between is it important to your business and do you have strategy, you got 4 options, right? You can do nothing. You can build an AI strategy internally, choose whatever framework you want to use, right? Just make sure it's concise. You can hire any third party in the world to come in and help you build a strategy, or you can leverage this framework. The framework's simple, you can leverage it and go. But if nothing else, what I want to impart on you guys is if that difference between those last 2 questions was greater than a 2, you owe it to your company to build an AI strategy. And now you at least have some of the tools on how to understand this. I'm going to stop there and open it up to questions for me or Kurt. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Randy and Kurt. That was good stuff. I've got a couple of questions here. Jen, let's see. Jen Renshaw, any preference on AI note-taking tools? Which is best? We're using Supernormal and looking to change.
Kurt.
Yeah, I answered it in the chat. There's lots of good ones out there and lots of bad ones. The one I like right now and that I've been using lately is Fireflies. It does a really good job so far. But I would say those are the types of tools. Keep trying different ones and find the one that you like that works best for you.
We see a lot of people do Fireflies, David. I'd say the other one is Otter. We see a lot of people using Otter.
I've got a question, slightly off course. I've been talking to my children my kids starting their business careers. And I'm saying, guys, I mean, this is the future and it's going to make you more productive if you understand it. Where would you, for children just starting their business career, where would you direct them to, where should they start learning how to use AI?
I think it's a great tool, and it's the same answer that I actually tell CEOs and everyone in every organization, which is just start playing with it and trying it and using it for different purposes. And I know it's a lot of hype out there, but ChatGPT is an absolutely phenomenal tool and everything that they build into it. I would actually always recommend you just get the paid version and play around with it, because the difference between what you see in ChatGPT and the free version versus what you get for $20 a month, the capabilities are amazing, and it gives you such a powerful tool just to get started with it, just to play with it, and just start seeing the power. There's all sorts of online things and training and all sorts of things you can do with it, but that's the best way to just get started with it and play with it. AI and new technology, what I also recommend, and if you go back to our quadrant, kind of and sorry, I'm taking away from the children and now going to the business, but same thing applies. You don't want to start investing in trying to do everything all at once and do these massive projects that are going to take 2 years to complete. Start small, start playing around with it, start finding those productivity gains, start seeing if it adds value. The same thing works for kids. And I describe AI as it's the tool in your toolbox. A lot of parents don't like it when I say this, but I do tell my kids, there is nothing out there that guarantees that something was written by ChatGPT or any other large language model. And the reason is, and I can go into this all day long, but how they work, there is no secret answer key. There's no database. There's nothing that says this was generated by AI. So I don't want kids to try to cheat per se, but I also want teachers to teach kids how to utilize these tools to start generating ideas, doing first drafts. This is not going away, and the kids need to figure out how to use this as a tool in their toolbox. Teachers need to figure out how to embrace this. And I have a whole other speech I can do some other time as to what the new organization is going to look like in the future of AI. So I would just say my short answer is just get started with it and play with it.
Good deal. A couple people have put in a plug for Read AI. Colton and Floyd De Palma both really like that option. Rebecca Donner, she's in healthcare design industry and has played with some of the AI. What's the liability to copyright of using the design AI generates?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is a really interesting topic as to the legality and the copyright. Ultimately, we're gonna have to kind of figure out where this lands, but the current perspective and the current legality is you can't copyright content that was created by AI. So if you were to put something in ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools, you can't copyright that. But what you can copyright, and this is where the laws have kind of been coming down, is the perspective. And what I mean by that is uh, it's the same law that was applied many, many years ago of pictures. You used to be able to, artists used to not be able to actually copyright a photograph. But then the courts ruled, based on your perspective, how you're looking at it, how you're positioning it, that is your proprietary information. So they've kind of done the same thing with AI, which is in your prompts. What are you using to generate it? So if it actually goes to court and you pull up a prompt that you say, yeah, I wrote this, and right in it, it says, write like, if you're pulling out like the Game of Thrones lawsuit, read the Game of Thrones and write a new book for this. Well, that obviously you're not going to be able to win that case because you're telling it to go essentially plagiarize something. But if you were doing it all very creatively, all your own context, all your own perspective, that actually has been holding up in court so far.
So this one is a little broad. Tim is asking, any guidance for when AI can replace human performance, full-time equivalents?
It depends. Well, it's already happened in some, so it depends as to what the actual function is. So my quick one on this is, if you think about tasks as very simple to very complex, and obviously in the world we have everything along that spectrum. AI, as I've seen it, is kind of going in from both sides of that and working its way in the middle. People are utilizing AI to do very basic, very simple tasks, and that's been going on for a while now. They're also utilizing AI at the other end of that spectrum for super complicated, medical diagnosis type stuff, which is taking experts, very trained experts to do this analysis, and now they have computers and these AI systems that are doing it better than people. So it's kind of hitting at it on both ends of the spectrum and just kind of working its way in. And then it gets to, again, that future of what the org's going to look like and how you utilize AI in this new world.
Hey, David, Marla, I had a question for you guys, just so I understand the EO world, and I understand it's very similar to YPO. You guys all have forums, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing I'd encourage you to do as forums is, as a takeaway, I think it would be a great accountability exercise if you guys brought up these 4 options in your forum and said, hey, assuming we're going to build an AI strategy, 1, when are we going to do it? And 2, which are we choosing? And start with those 4 questions. Like if someone's saying an 8 and a 2, and they're going to do nothing in 2024, as a forum member, I would want to ask a question of how can you do nothing if it's that big a gap? So I would really encourage the group to say, listen, of the 8 or 10, however many is in your forums, just like ours, are we truly going to build an AI strategy? And then maybe share a couple at the next forum, right? So just food for thought there, because part of EO and YPO is holding each other accountable for the things we need to be doing. So just an exercise that we've done a lot with YPOers. You guys might want to consider it for EO.
So Floyd DePalma is asking, what do you think about using low-code platforms to speed up the development of custom tools for training AI models, considering it currently takes about a year? Could low-code reduce this time significantly?
Short answer is yes. And the models, this kind of gets back into you pick the right model and technology as to what your goals are. Just to explain it real quick, there are closed models, which ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, these are all closed models, which you pay to utilize them as a click. And then there's open models. You can download from Hugging Face is the repository for all models right now. And you can download these models and then you can actually customize them. You could build your own model. You can train models, and they're all kind of various purposes. So low code work is basically utilizing that middle layer. So you're not building your own, you're using them to configure. And there are some great low code options and some great no code options to actually just start doing some workflow stuff as well. So I would say it all comes down to there are some amazing tools out there to help you do this. Utilize any one of them to expedite and speed up your journey. Just make sure you're picking the right technology and the right tools that are going to meet whatever your goals are.
Any other questions out there? All right, so Samir's asking, since we're here in Music City, curious what you think of the future of songwriting will look like.
It is an interesting one. There's already tools out there that are writing songs. In a lot of the forums that I'm in, people like to always keep posting their AI generated songs, and frankly, some of them are pretty good. So it's every industry is going to be touched by this. There is nothing that's you're going to say, wow, AI will never touch this industry. We're immune from it and we're not impacted. Every industry is going to be touched by it. It's just going to be touched differently. If anybody hasn't gone out and looked at it, go look at Sora, which is the new OpenAI tool, which is text to video creation. Watch some of the videos that they've put out just from these text prompts, and then you tell me what's going to happen with the commercial market in regards to people making commercials. Think about where that's going to go with the entertainment industry from acting. Music is the same way that I still always go to people are always the experts. You utilize AI as the tools and to help enable your creativity, your expertise. But if you wanted to go in and use AI tools to say, write me a song, produce me a song, and market a song, you could.
Rebecca Donner's asking is if there are any AI tools or any websites that list all of the AI tools that are currently available.
There are several, and after this, I can send Marla, I'll send you a couple links. So I just have a few, and they're not fully encompassing. And by the way, they're not validated. So that's what I always caution people. I mean, I give them these links. I'm like, here's a whole bunch of tools and here's a whole bunch of things. It's again for just get your mind working in regards to seeing what's out there. Go play with them. Some are good, some are probably bad. I'm not saying that these are, all the right tools. I just have a few lists of things that people keep publishing things to. And it just helps for people to go play around with stuff.
So James is asking, are there any AI tools that can interact with data and applications that require a user login?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to think about it in a couple different ways. We talked about these no-code platforms. There's these workflow tools that you can build any sort of workflow you want. A very easy tool to go play with is one called Zapier. If anybody knows it or wants to go look at it, it's when you just build a workflow in. And so when in your workflow, you would do whatever you want to do with it. You can call into the AI tool with whatever you want. You can have the system automatically log into whatever system you want. So what you need is you just build these workflows to do whatever you want them to do. And if that's logging into this application, pulling data from here, sending it here, those are all things you just configure around.
So Jen Renshaw asks, what's the overall guidance do you have for security and privacy when using AI?
Very important. Always be thinking about security and privacy. And again, this is a very long topic that we're not going to get to in a couple minutes, but I'm going to give you the high level, which is everything you do, always approach it and be mindful of security and privacy. I put it on companies to actually adopt their ethical use of AI policy, and they need to find how they're going to say they're going to use it, because the legal system is never going to keep up, in my mind, with how quickly technology moves. So I think it's up to companies to kind of help drive that and put that in place. And then you think about your data. The general rule of thumb on data within an organization is like the 80-20 split. 80% of your data probably doesn't matter. It's probably open data anyway, but you got to figure out what is your key, what is your proprietary data? What is that 20%? And then you're giving your data to companies already every day. I mean, any system that you use online, you're giving your data. So the question you have to think of is, do I trust this company with my data? And then do they have the security policies to protect it? Back to my open close model, if you wanted to use a ChatGPT in an open model, you better tighten up and make sure you have all the protections that you're comfortable with. If you really don't want to give your data anywhere, you do a closed model and you keep it all internal so data doesn't go anywhere. So there's lots of ways to approach it. I just say I agree with the question here, which is always think about security and data privacy, how you want to handle it for your company.
Any additional questions before we go into breakouts? All right. Seeing more questions, I think it's time to go into breakout, guys.